going to see if Facebook accepts our stream.
Okay.
All right, I just got notified that YouTube accepted our stream.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Twitch has accepted our stream.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we're waiting for Facebook to accept our stream.
Okay.
And Facebook has accepted our stream. Now I can give you the link once they've accepted it.
Okay.
So I go here. And I go here, and I go here.
Money, money, money. It's always about the money. Such a headache. Why does it seem like the entire world must spend around money? There's so much more to life than chasing dollars. We have lands and seas that need our attention. There are oceans that need our care. And the whales need our protection. Folks just don't understand. They don't know how much
Okay, now I'm going to send you all the links.
Thank you.
Okay.
To help us save our air, the very air we breathe. Lord knows I'm trying. Me and Starbuck, we are out here every day trying to spread the word, save a life. And we go over to here. My sister Fatima, how are you? This is Anya. I know you know it's me. Are you in need of a break? Want to do the salvage with me? No, unfortunately, I don't have any whale rescues. I haven't had the money.
Because I haven't had the money.
All three of you have been sent an email with the links.
Okay.
Because I haven't had the money. That's right.
Joy, you have been sent an email with the links.
Very much. Because I haven't had the money. So that's what I have. Because I haven't had the money. Because I haven't had the money. Because I haven't had the money. I've been thinking about the Patagonian coastline. I know that region is rich in vegetation, so no doubt whales and dolphins will find their way there. And you know, that means fishing boats and fishing nets, fishing nets and fishing boats.
That's how big
Okay.
it's gonna be.
Okay.
You can read that, right?
I can read it. Let's see if I can read if I take my glasses off.
If you
Mhm.
see any comments,
Yes.
over here.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to cough, and I don't want to destroy anybody.
Just waiting for you to give me the go-ahead to start the show.
Okay. Okay. Are you both ready?
No, hang on.
Okay.
And this is supposed to go. Where do you have your?
Mr. Right there,
Like that? Okay.
A little bit too close. Go like this. Inside. Yep. That's too far. Just this. Just.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of far.
Yeah. In a little bit. There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
We got to get the Goldilocks spot.
Is this? Is it correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, this bang is making me crazy.
You just.
I mean, really. because it's the opposite way in the thingy.
Excuse me, everybody, if I've just made you deaf,
No, no, we're good.
as I am having. I think it's the allergies. I don't know why.
Oh, there we go. I have to remember I'm in the opposite. If I can just see my eyes, I'd be all right.
Okay, so what is the line that I hear from you before I say yes, yes, yes? What's
Oh.
my cue line?
Okay, the line before you say, okay, welcome aboard, Fatima.
No.
Okay, before you say yes, yes,
No.
yes.
Right. What was it?
Okay, meeting. Well, I don't. Okay, I
She
really don't-
hangs up, right?
right? Because I hang up. I'll be down there once all the crew is down. Okay, so because it's almost as if nobody is there. You just coming into the on the deck
Right.
of the ship, happy with yourself.
So what
Right.
happened? Yeah. So,
Because we're just taking it from 21, so you'll be the top.
well, you're doing 14,
Right, right,
right? And then we go to 16.
right.
My sister Fatima, how are you?
Because that's on the phone.
Right, because that's on the
Mhm.
phone.
Mhm.
We'll find their way there.
Exactly.
Where's
And we go all the way over to the top of 17.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
looking for.
And then
17.
my last cue for that is, yeah, we must be the change we want to see. Excellent. It will be good to see you.
Okay.
Then
and
we
that's-
shoot over to 21,
Yes.
where we meet Fatima, and
Right.
Fatima opens the scene.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So she'll say, "Excellent. It will be good to see you." All right. And then
Well, we just go right into dialogue, my dialogue. You don't
yes,
say-
yes, yes.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm okay here with this microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
All
start
right.
here.
So. And then we go right through to
Mm-hmm.
22.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I had to learn how to move the papers quietly.
I don't know. Oh, that's
Thank
right.
you.
So are we going to talk about the character first before we?
Yes.
Okay.
Get us into the groove of talking.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do that. Maybe I'll say the name of the show because it's hard for me just to launch in without that. Biz Bites and Buzz.
Well, that's it. It's going to have to work.
It'll be
Hanging goop.
I know, honey. I know. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll help, but in the lemon juice in your water,
Oh,
yeah, I do that all the time.
I usually do. So
Mhm.
there. Yep, this is
Mick Rambo, somebody's already talking. I'm
Wow,
guessing.
you already
Okay.
got a viewer.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm guessing a new show.
He is
Okay.
right.
I'm not
He doesn't
So
remember
even going to look
Celeste.
at that.
No,
This is
he
my
doesn't.
action.
He doesn't know that you're one of the OG.
Yeah, yeah. So I can
Okay.
comment when we introduce. I can say
Yeah, you could say it's been a while since I've been here.
yes, yes. Okay.
You ready to start?
Yes,
Okay. You see the timer?
yes.
It's on
4.
Here we go. When you see on the air, you're on the air, okay?
Yep.
Wait a minute.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Think Twice Radio. My name is Celeste Lawson, and some of you may know me from years past for my program Bits, Bites, and Buzz, which I did for a long time. And, you know, life before the pandemic and now life after the pandemic, we tried to regain our footing and regain our connections with everybody here. So I'm happy to be back, and I'm very happy to be back talking about a very special project that I'm working on. And I have 2 guests with me that are major contributors to this project. And the project is entitled The Whale Speaks. It's a performance, and it's a one-night only performance that takes place on August the 5th at 7:30 p.m. at Shea 710 in Buffalo's downtown theater district. So this project is about ocean conservation, climate change. It takes into account many of the things that are important to us that we don't really have a chance to talk about or even consider. For example, the life of whales and the importance that they play on our environment and the impact they have on our climate change. So that's our topic, the performance. You'll hear a little bit about it, or you hear from some of the actors, my two guests that are here. And then I see a name. Hi, Mick. I'm guessing this is a new show. No, this is an old show, but we took a break and we're back. And thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. In the studio with me today are two of the actors from The Whale Speaks. Vernice Turner, who plays Captain Anya, and she is a direct descendant of the crazed Captain Ahab that we've heard so much about through Herman Melville's classic Moby Dick. And also joining us is Joy Chimay, who plays the character of Fatima, who is a longtime friend of Captain Anya's, and joining them on their ship, the Starbuck. And the trivia with that is Starbuck is the name of the first mate in Herman Melville's story Moby Dick the Pequod. And a lot of this story is the counterpoint to the treachery that was done to whales in the whaling industry that was portrayed in Melvin's classic book. So we're talking about preservation and conservation and the impact that whales have on our community, our planet really, and oceans and our weather. So let me allow my guests to say hello and introduce themselves to you and a little bit about them. And I'll start with Vernice as Captain Anya. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Celeste, and I'm happy to be here with Joy Chimay as well. It's a very interesting piece for me as playing Captain Anya Ahab. And I think this is an very important piece to be presented to the public because there is so much that we don't know, the interaction. I was just even thinking of the slaughter of whales over the decade, and sad to say still continuing with foreign ships going near South America to illegally whale.
Yes.
And I just thought about how much better would our environment be if the slaughter hadn't taken place,
Yes.
since they contribute to the, as Captain Anya would say, very air we breathe.
Yes.
I'm happy to be a part of this project. I was born and raised here in Western New York. I started out at the African Cultural Center, which is my artistic birthplace. I'm happy to be working with a number of actors I had the joy of performing with for over decades here in Western New York. And I really hope people will come out and take joy in a story that needs to be told and we all need to be aware of.
I appreciate that. Yes, and thank you. Vernice, you may have seen her in many a stage play, and so we're bringing talent to the table in this production. Also part of this is Joy Chimay, who is also a playwright and plays a very important role in our story in her character Fatima. Thank you, Joy, for being here.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this incredible project, which is going to, I think, affect people at many levels. Now, do you want me to say something about my own life
Yes,
here?
yes, we want to hear
Okay.
about who's in the show.
Okay, well, I have been in theater for the last 25 years, and I started late in life. I didn't start at the age of 4, learning how to sing, dance, and what have you. I started as a middle-aged woman and attended classes at UB where I was there, and my fellow students were 18 years old, fresh out of high school. But I studied with Vincent O'Neill and Jerry Finnegan and Stephen McKinley Henderson and all the greats, Fortunato Pezzamente, all the greats who were at the university, and was lucky to come into the Buffalo theater scene just as it was beginning to take off, and got parts, and also studied playwriting with Anna K. France, started to write plays, and have been very active in the theater community, both in traditional theater as well as improv. Anna K. France and myself established with others an improv company called Playback Theater of Buffalo, and we perform all over for very special groups. We've performed with the Hospice Grief Group, with Stella Niagara's Retreat, for women and also the autism community, also Alzheimer's Association. So we do a special kind of theater. It's a very healing, spiritual kind of theater. So I'm glad to be here, indeed, because this play is allowing us to present something that suggests that we humans live parallel lives to the animal world, who has perhaps in some way very similar kinds of lives as we do. Different but similar. And it's that similarity that I think is highlighted in this particular piece.
Thank you. So as you can see, we have great talent at the table who will be part of this performance, and we're going to hear, they will share some of their talent with us shortly. And Joy brings up an important point, and that was the similarity of the family of marine life, and whales in particular. So what can I tell you about whales that we may not really talk about, understand, and appreciate? Well, their families are called pods. Those pods have unique ways of communicating with themselves. They develop their own languages. They have a hierarchy. In other words, there's a matriarch, there's aunties. For example, sperm whales may have nurses and nursemaids. They're very protective and have a really powerful and strong social structure. So they really function very, very much like human families do. And I don't think we think of whales like that at all. We probably don't think of animals in general like that at all. So I think that this is a way to expand our way of appreciating that we are humanity, that we are all connected in some way. And taking care of ourselves and our children and our homes is a big part of that. I chose this story and topic. It was inspired by a collection of poems by a local poet. Her name is Sherry Robbins, and she has a book that she published, Or the Whale. And she's one of the individuals in our community that has a passion for Herman Melville's Moby Dick, along with the character who plays Ahab in this particular story, poet David Landry. And in her book, she wrote a poem for each chapter of the Moby Dick epic, really, piece of work. But her poems really entailed the journey of the life of a woman. And I was invited to be part of a group of poets that were responding to some of the poems that Sherry wrote. And in thinking about Sherry's premise of writing poems about the lives of women, I thought about Moby Dick and the fact that it's very possible. I mean, everything just is assuming that that was a male.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible that could have been a female defending her ocean home, defending her species, because whales back then were being slaughtered hundreds by the day. Almost to the point of its extinction. And here in the United States in the late 1850s, they had to put a ban on whaling. They were just slaughtered so much. Most countries now have a ban on whaling. Not every country. There are still some that do commercial whaling. United States still does some under the name of research, so I let that slide. But anyway. And so in thinking about that, I decided that I did want to be the voice of the whale. I did want to be a matriarch who was expressing her point of view in this story. And her point of view is that her homestead, her territory is being encroached upon and imposed upon. It's being destroyed for a lot of different reasons. And the goal is, how do we preserve and protect our families? And so this is a story about that. It's a fantasy. Anytime you have animals talking to each other and talking to the audience, we know it's a fantasy. But it's a fantasy grounded in truth. And I think that ideally this story allows us to think about marine life in our oceans in a way that we maybe haven't. We will be captivated, in a theater, having a story told to us, and we may not have had an opportunity to listen to something like this before. So this is how this story came about. And sticking with the idea of poems and poetry, the dialogue of this is created by various types of poems. That's not something that, I mean, you had the masters, William Shakespeare. Everything he does is a poem or a sonnet. Oh, so we know that that one works. And then, of course, we had Cats, which is T.S. Eliot's. It was inspired and adapted from his 1939 collection of poems about the old house cats. And then we moved into the modern times with Lin-Manuel's Hamilton and the extraordinary thing that he did with rap. So I'm not making a claim to fame. What I'm saying to myself is that different types of poems in their various structures can be appropriate content. You don't have to just listen to someone at a podium read a poem. There's ways that we can hear poetry in different ways. And so that's how this story is structured. So that's the why and how this came about. And the fact that we are experiencing extraordinary weather now. I mean, we've all had friends and neighbors and heard stories of flooding, hurricanes. I'm sure each of you, who do you know someone now who's being impacted by bad weather?
Yes, for certain. The whole West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The between the fires, the heat wave, the floods, it's just awful. And that's a beautiful section of our country. And the forests are dying because of the fires and the heat.
Yeah.
And what's so amazing, those of us here in Western New York, we thought we were in a pretty safe place. We pray and believe the best for other people who are dealing with challenges, and sometimes we humans need to recognize, as Fatima later will share, when we're impeding into territories that we shouldn't been in.
Yeah.
I used to wonder why on the United States, why were there more solid structures over history, and come to find out the indigenous people knew the land so well. They knew how to have portable housing and where to build solid structure. And they lived in the seasons.
Yes.
All up in California, they would be there for a certain season, then they come into the middle of the country. And so to see even a place like Western New York, yes, we have our snow, but generally you didn't have to worry about a lot of things that you couldn't handle.
Yes.
But now, as quiet as it's kept, nobody is safe. Some people are a little bit more safe than other areas, but whoever would have thought of serious forest fires up in Quebec and Northeast Ontario? I've lived here all 60 plus years, all my life. We never had the smog
Yes.
that we've experienced this year.
Yes.
Just letting us know. And the reason it was so bad and so hard to fight, it was a region humans hardly ever went to.
Yes.
So they didn't have the distribution of firefighters to help go there. So to see that, hopefully people will realize it's just a thing that no, they're now saying what happened what would take place every 18 years is now taking place every 4 to 5 years.
Yes.
And that's how bad it's gotten.
Yes.
And I think what's so important is it makes us realize how connected we really
Yes.
are.
Yes.
We're getting the smoke from Canada because of the winds, and we are bound together on this globe. And we just have to recognize it, not only in terms of the effects of climate, but also in the effects of human action on the non-human world.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
on the non-human world. And I think one of the things that, we say things like, let's go to the beach, well, the planet that we live on, planet Earth, is 73% water. Water, most of the planet is water. And so these continents that we live on are just small patches in a major, major liquid world. And so oceans impact our weather in ways that we probably don't understand. When we see the weatherman with the jet stream and flying across the map and the discussions about heat coming up from the ocean and creating hurricanes, I mean, we have to remember we're just a small part of the story.
Right.
we make ourselves important, but we're a small part of the story.
Mhm.
And all these other things interact and engage, and we need to be less destructive in our approach to our day to day living and say, gee, how can I be sure that how I'm living is going to have a positive impact on my neighborhood, in my community, on my street? Is there one thing that I can do that's a positive contribution? And I think that that's the message that I would like to have this story share and ask the people who are watching and listening, is there just one thing you can do as an individual that will be a positive change, in, at least in your part of the world,
Mhm.
and take it from there. So we're going to have an excerpt, and I think we're going to hear from Captain Anya, played by Bernice, and then we're going to hear a conversation between Captain Anya and her longtime friend, Fatima.
Money, money, money. It's always about the money. It is such a headache. Why does it seem that the entire world must spin around money? There is so much more to life than chasing dollars. We have lands and seas that need our attention. We have oceans that need our care, and the whales. The whales need our protection. Folks just don't understand. They don't seem to know how much we need whales to help save our air, the very air we breathe. Lord knows I'm trying, me and Starbuck. We are out here every day trying to spread the word, save a life.
So Captain Anya's getting ready to go out and put together a salvage mission. So she needs to put a crew together. And we hear her talking to her crewmate, someone she's wanting to bring on board, and that's Fatima.
Okay. My dear Fatima, my dear Fatima, this is Anya here. Do you need a break? I know. I know you know it's me. Are you in need of a break? Want to do the salvage with me? No, unfortunately. I don't have any whale excursions or rescues because I don't have the money. Oh, I've been thinking about the Patagonia coastline. I know that region is rich in vegetation, and no doubt whales and dolphins will find their way there. And you know what that means? Fishing boats mean fishing nets, and fishing nets mean fishing lines, and fishing traps for whales and dolphins. Uh, any new prophecy, Fatima? I know. Yeah, I know. We must be the change we want to see. Excellent. It will be good to see you.
So Fatima, Anya has put her crew together. Fatima has agreed to come on board.
Yes, yes, yes. It's good to be heading out to sea again.
Oh, welcome aboard, Fatima. I'm really glad to see you. It's been too long.
Oh, God, it's good to be out here again. The smell and the sound of the ocean. I just love it. Sometimes it seems like the world and everybody in it gets crazier by the day. Oh, Anya, I'm desperate for this escape.
Sounds like folks are still chasing you around.
Ah, you better believe it. Somebody's always coming up to me in the grocery store saying, a friend told them that I could predict their future, which I cannot do. Neighbors knock on my door or come to the yard when I'm gardening, asking if I have a few minutes to listen to their latest dream. But that's not the worst of it. It's those strangers hurling insults and calling me names because they think I'm some sort of evil spirit. Oh, Lord knows I'm glad to be on the Starbuck again. I don't care how hard the work is. Hey, am I the first one here?
No, Queenie made it first. She is still looking to be the first mate, and that's fine with me.
And I'm sure she covets that first mate spot. It comes with a bonus at the end of every trip. You know, she always seems to be on the quest for the gold coins. She's like that song, got my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Fatima, where you hear that from?
Ah, you'd be surprised who comes to spend time with me. Sometimes just to talk, but mostly looking for answers about dreams they're having.
Apparently. Well, Queenie's in the galley. I made fresh coffee this morning for the kickoff of our trip.
Kick off, here we go. Take my horse to the old town road. Gonna ride till I can't no more.
So, as you can see, we have a serious subject but has levity, and certainly we have some very interesting characters. So, that means to know more about the crew members, because there are 7 of them, that we encourage you to come to the performance, which is happening Saturday, August the 5th at 7:30 at the Shea 710 Theater. You can visit Ticketmaster.com for tickets. You can call them at 716-847-1410. The ticket range is, we tried to make it available for just about everyone. So at one end of the scale, we have a $15 ticket, and at the top end of the scale, we have a $50 VIP ticket. That certainly comes with some perks as our special guest there. So I think what I'm going to share some more with you about who our cast is, so that you know who you're coming to. Excuse me, my throat is dry. So that you know who you're coming to listen to and see perform. So, the characters in the ocean. We have poet David Landry, who is the voice of Captain Ahab, the ancestor to Captain Anya Ahab. We have we just heard from Fatima, who from Joy Shimei, who plays Fatima. We have Carrie Kate Abel Smith, who plays Queenie. We have a new talent, Sonia Angeli, who plays Isabella. And Isabella is sort of the theme, and she is the consciousness of this story, because she comes ready and willing and able to do everything she can to be a protector and advocate for saving the environment. We also have Mary Craig, who is our whale heroine. And her name is Moby, but spelled Mobi. And she is the great granddaughter of the historical whale Moby Dick. And her friend is a dolphin, Daphne, played by Joyce Carolyn. So these are names that we've heard often in shows and performances over the years. And in addition to the new talent of Sonia Angeli, who is playing Isabella, we have Chanel Tillery. And Chanel is an actor, poet, playwright, and she plays the goddess Yemaya. So you ask yourself, why is Yemaya in this story? Well, I think you in this dialogue heard that Anya mentioned the Patagonia Shelf, South America. Yemaya is the goddess of all oceans, all things in the oceans, all things that happen in the ocean. So Yemaya is important because she becomes an advisor and counsel to Moby, who is a creature of the ocean. So she has an important role to play, and she's sort of the storyteller here in our play here. We have the voice of Moby Dick played by John Vines, a well-known actor. Mm-hmm. And I have an all-around support talent. Her name is Vernia Gavin. And you may be seeing her in the future in other plays. She's very talented. So we have a great cast. We have original music that's going to be created by a musician named Daniel Haskin. And I hope that Daniel will come on with a couple of his musicians. We'll do more shows to talk about The Whale Speaks. David Butler is doing our set, and Nick Quinn is doing our lighting. So we have a stellar cast and crew helping us put this show together. So I think what I'd like to do is talk to Vernice and Joy a little bit more about their thoughts on how this story gave them any ideas or thoughts about the environment, and if there was any news about whales that was interesting and new to them.
Well, the biggest thing for me, as you were sharing about how the whales help create the various airs that we breathe, because that's one of the things you address, with the death of whales coming up on the shorelines of England and the Northeast and out in California, that really hit me hard. And what's something else is not only the whales, but the other creatures of the ocean, because this is a beautiful piece in where you have dancers who will be performing and giving that feeling of the ocean under the choreography director Robin
Hibbert and Dominic Jomber, yes.
Yes, and all those wonderful dancers, performance artists who will be filling in the overall production. And that's important because sometimes when we bring the human into the animal kingdom, sometimes it hit us more seriously, okay, than we just see the animals here and there and don't think anything of it. But I have to admit, with the death of various whales beaching themselves, that has really got me really concerned about our atmosphere.
Yes.
Not even just so much for my life or whatever, but just the fact that it was interesting, somebody post something, the planet can live without us, but we can't live without the planet.
Yes, and say no more about that, because that is amazing. And our character, our Moby, Mary Craig, has been following it or paying attention to some recent news that we heard about orcas and their aggression on yachts in certain lagoons, and really having this orca, Gladys, right? She appears to have trained other orcas to be part of this tormenting of yachts, right? That's what I call it. So they just ram them for a while. They don't turn them over. They don't jump in it. But they certainly terrorize it for a half an hour or so. And I'm like, oh, that is so cool, right? Because they're responding.
That's right.
They're responding. So, and just a note about orca, we call them killer whales. But what I learned through this research is that an orca is actually the top of the dolphin chain. So orcas are big, giant-sized dolphins. So that's, sort of interesting to know. So how about you, Joy?
Yeah, what I'm finding fascinating is the concept of communication between species. And I don't know if anyone saw the PBS special last night about the relationship between a guy who was in a kayak, and he is also a filmmaker, and a whale, in which he followed this whale and came to the conclusion that the whale actually was attempting to save his life.
Wow.
And I've heard some exquisitely
Yes.
beautiful stories about such things, where there is a real connection or concern of those of whales towards us, and it's almost a mystical connection. And that my character Fatima is something of a mystic who lives in two worlds, and it's the means of communication that I think is so fascinating. Not only ramming yachts, hello people,
Right.
realize what you're doing, but also attempting to communicate in another way through their sounds and so forth. And Fatima is important in this story because she literally is able to understand a means of communication by Moby through dreams of this young Isabella. And Fatima's a very sensitive character who sometimes gets into trouble because she is so sensitive and has this special ability of seeing and connecting. And she really wants other people to also feel the same thing or communicate the same way. I'm particularly touched by a story that I heard a long time ago about dolphins who were swimming in this section rather close to the shoreline. And a father and his son were out swimming, and the son got into trouble and drowned. The father made it out, and he was on shore, and he wanted to retrieve his son's body. And he looked out, and he saw that the dolphins were pushing the
Oh,
body
Wow.
towards him until they got his son's body to the shoreline.
Wow.
And there is this mutual, beautiful, loving connection that is expressed in so many ways.
Well, I think that's a key element, that's a really beautiful and wonderful story, and it just feeds into the fact that we have to move away from this notion that animals are not sensitive in the same way that we are, that they don't have the same thoughts, love, care, anxiety, emotions that we have for our family. They have it for theirs as well. And it seems that their sensitivity is allowing them to acknowledge ours. So the least we can do
That's beautiful.
is be reciprocal in that way.
Yeah, one thing I just want to share real quick. People are frustrated with animals. I mean, I hate what's happening in the mountains and in various places and what have you. But this is the first time I've been here all my life. I have taken the exit ramp off of the Squajaquada off to Delaware for over 40 plus years. Guess what happened the other day? A deer, and I know there's been deers in Forest Lawn. A deer leaped over the exit ramp going to the Delaware. And my husband, with him being German Polish farm boy, he would always say, Vernice, whenever you're driving these roads, if you see one deer, there's more to come.
Yes.
I looked to the other side. There was another deer on the other side.
Wow.
And folks, and being out here on Walnut, because I live in Sanborn, but have a place on Walnut, and I'm seeing woodchucks and rabbits. But then I had to say to myself, their attitude is like, y'all impeding on our space.
Yes.
I guess we got to come up in yours.
Yes, yes. And not only that, I mean, that destruction of habitat
Yes.
is a global tragedy.
Yes, it is.
Global tragedy. And I think that this is where a level of consciousness needs to happen in the mind of those undertaking commercial endeavors.
Right.
These things that are happening in Borneo and in the rainforest,
Yes.
the poor orangutans. I mean, it's just it's scary, and they're taking a position where the animals are now saying, "Well, wait a minute, I have to eat, my family has to eat, and you're my hunting grounds, you're my, you know." And I think to step back, and that's why people tease and talk about tree huggers and all this kind of thing, and I'm saying I'm so grateful that we have tree huggers in the
Yes.
world, right?
Greenpeace and all of them.
Yes, and even though there's extreme at every end,
Exactly.
right? But I think that most of us have the ability to sort of be mainstreamed in the fact that we can maybe stop using styrofoam.
Right.
Let's use more biodegradable things. Not be so disposable in the way that we do things, and think about renewing, reusable, repurposing. And I think that would be, something very helpful.
That's what we used to do. I'm
Yes.
old enough to remember you had milk in a glass jug, you put it in the crate, the milkman would come and pick it up.
Yes.
The pop bottles, all those kinds of things.
Yes. And we turn to this world of plastic, and plastic is a big, important thing, but it's a big, dangerous thing. And it's I don't know, trashing up the oceans. And we talk about how we need to protect our oceans and conserve our oceans, because as we see, when the ocean strikes back, it's a big It's a big deal, and it shares the news about how powerful water is, how powerful oceans are, the importance of seas. And I love the fact that we have the Yemanya and our choreographer, Robin Hibbert, who's wonderful with traditional dances and understanding the culture of the Yemanya. And young Dominic, another choreographer, who's going to be having our waves and fishes speak because they're an important part of this story. Um, our corals, they need to be, we think about corals as a plant, but they're an organism.
Right.
They live.
Yes.
They live, and we have to appreciate we're not the only things alive, and so that's important too.
And I think uh, think hopefully,
Yes.
we have the ability to find a way to eliminate plastic. We do have the ability. We just, I mean, if we can put probes on Mars, we certainly can take care of this, I would think.
Exactly.
We just need to have the will. And I think that's growing slowly but surely in the world today because we recognize that we have to. Otherwise, we will not survive.
Yes, yes.
And just real quick, I'll make it real quick on this point.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot tell me we can shoot because we can't do everything electric.
Yes.
You cannot tell me they cannot design a combustible engine that get 100 miles to the gallon
Yes.
to gas
Mhm.
and or do steam, okay? Because somebody had that. And the only reason I'm bringing all that up is that even with electric vehicle, one, we don't have the grid to support everything being electric. And two, it's still destroying the earth. I
Yes.
just find out they're exploring underground ocean mining
Yes.
to get more of the materials that's needed to make the chips and the battery cells. When I saw what happened in 2004, the tsunami,
Yes.
I found out that prior to that, they had a special that in that area, they had took off tons of sand from the bottom of the ocean
Yes.
to build these fake islands off of the coast of Saudi Arabia. You can't tell me all that weight gone
Yes.
didn't cost the plates.
Well, they do. They do.
Good point.
And one of the things that, and I don't know how many people watch the Weather Channel. I'm telling my age. I watch the
That's
the
okay,
Weather
baby.
Channel. And it has lots of unique programming. That's what I learned. And I used to tease my mom about, why are you watching the Weather Channel every day, right? Now I'm my mother watching the Weather Channel every day. But they have things about weather phenomenons. And they have things about narrow escapes and disasters. And all of them have to do with the fact that we are adjusting the relationship of the earth to itself, I guess. Because it has to keep modifying itself
Yes.
because of the damage that we're doing. We drilled down there, and now they've got to, come back. And we put more
One
in it,
side on
one,
them.
right, and then it's got to adjust again. And the Dead Sea, the
Yes.
lowest place on our planet, is drying
Yep.
up at a rate of like 3 feet a year.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon, there's going to be no Dead Sea. It'll just be these cubes of salt running around. We don't think about that. I mean, and that's a tourist attraction. People go there; they want to bathe and relax and rest in the Dead Sea for its healing properties. Well, there won't be one after a while. Okay, the way to go sit in salt. We have to, be mindful of that. The volcanoes that are happening. These are things that when you tamper with the balance of the earth has to recalibrate itself. Just like we do.
It's just like we do our body.
Yes, we have to recalibrate ourselves. So I'm going to once again remind everybody that this particular story about whales and their importance to us, one of the things we have to appreciate, and Vernice mentioned it, but I will mention it again from a commercial point of view. The International Monetary Fund said that on average, each whale, not a group or a pod, each whale is worth at minimum $2 million. One whale, $2 million. And that was a couple years ago. So if you want to, think about
Inflation.
inflation and other things, So we have one whale that's worth maybe $3 million now, and they are still becoming extinct. And their life cycle, when they are able to extract carbon dioxide from our atmosphere, one whale at the end of its lifespan does more for our planet than over 1,000 trees.
Wow.
And we talk about trees and how important they are. So if you have one whale that contributes to our atmosphere the same way that 1,000 or more trees do, that's something to think about. You know, that really is something to think about. And the fact that each one of these is now worth probably $3 million a piece, you know, we have to think in whatever terms you can about how this resource needs to be protected. And I think that part of our story is saying, yes, there's a human side and there's a human cost, you know, that we have to be responsible for in the life of a whale to protect our planet. But we also have to be, if you're a dollars and cents person, think to yourself, you're killing off whales, you're knocking off, you know, $3 million at a hit, right? Why would, that's not a smart thing to do, especially when it has something to do with prolonging the quality of life on the planet where we live. Because right now we got no place to go, right? You can talk about the moon, you can talk about Mars, you can talk about Venus, but right now, this is it.
And who would want to live anyplace else when you really think about it? This jewel of a planet.
Yes.
So you want to go to Mars and live in a bubble?
Right. In a dry place. And, you know, and here's what's really important, again, is we know our sun is this blazing star, this wonderful, bright, blazing star, and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And the hotter it gets, the hotter our planet is going to become. And it ultimately will be, I mean, how many millions of years it would take, but ultimately it'll supernova itself out. And that's what they say has happened to the planet Mars, and that's what happened to the planet Venus that once had an environment very similar to our own Earth. And, you know, the sun did it in, right? So we have to be conscientious about those kinds of things.
I think we ought to realize that we've been given a great gift
Yes.
to be on this planet. And the question maybe is for us is, how do we say thank you?
Yes. Yes. How do we say thank you and appreciate that we can fill up our swimming pools, right? That I can buy spring water, right? That we can take a hot shower at random, that we can grow crops however we want, right?
Wherever we want. Because out in the desert,
Yeah.
folks, I know we're almost out of time. The whole West and the whole West is really freaking out because Colorado, the Colorado River, Mexico is already pissed because they
Yeah.
hardly get any water anymore.
Yes.
Okay, and then you get people that are out in certain places bringing plants that don't have any business being in Phoenix and Las Vegas and whatever. Water plant people are suffering with pollen and
Yeah.
other kind of issues.
Yes.
And what is it? Water.
Yes. And you know, there have been environmentalists that years ago said the next great crisis on planet Earth is going to be about water.
Yep.
And now we have cases about access to water in the Supreme Court. Who would have thought that we now have to have the Supreme Court listen to cases about access? Who can access water? Why is that a battle?
And they're already doing that in Latin America,
Yes.
and Peru and Chile. I'm thinking people are by a river, they can get arrested for taking a gallon jug and pulling water out of that river because
Yes.
they don't have the water rights.
Yes.
And you have to get your water from a government truck
Yeah.
and get your ration.
Okay, so let's think about this now. We are in an era where we have a microchip that allows us to have the world in our pocket, right? You can pull out your phone and find out what's happening in China. But you have people who can't get a drink of water at their leisure.
That's right.
What is wrong with this picture? So I think we have to start getting our word out. And I have a great love and admiration for art and artists because as far as I'm concerned, artists are the consciousness and culture bearers of all society. This is what we do. We tell folks where we are. We tell folks the impact of what we're doing, and we offer them solutions in our own way. And we're not trying to judge or condemn.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying, look, this is what's happening. You may not realize it, but this is what's happening. So when you see a strange installation and someone says, I don't get that, I say, stop, look at it. Look at it. What do you think this particular artist is trying to say to you? When we hear the history and legacy of folk songs have always been the yarn of what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the songs. Pay attention. We talk about Bruce Springsteen. Listen to Bruce Springsteen. He's telling you where it's at on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And you're happy dancing, but for a minute, put the earbuds in and listen.
To the actual word. And like
Listen.
I always say, awareness revealing truth. That's what I
Yes.
call art.
Yes.
In its own way, an artist is revealing truth through
Yes.
their actions.
Yes.
And like you said, it's critical when you hear, like the song Fitzgerald. When
Mm.
I heard I like the melody of it, dun, 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 dun. But it's about guys dying in the Great Lakes,
Yes.
trying to bring goods.
Yes. Yes. And we don't. We're wrapped up in the entertainment, and that's okay. We
Right.
all need to have fun.
Yes.
It's important to have fun. It's important to enjoy life, but it's also important to embrace our responsibilities. We cannot have privilege, in my opinion. We cannot have privilege without accountability and responsibility. I mean, it just doesn't work otherwise. And we have our kids, right? Our young people. Whether you have children or not of your own, you still have an obligation to make sure that we leave them a place that's secure, because they're not responsible for what we've done, but they're gonna inherit what we've done, whatever that might be. And so, to be thoughtful about that. I mean, that's the story of the Native Americans and their notion of planning for 7 generations. So we need to prosper ourselves, that togetherness is it. And I'm not the big kumbaya person, but I certainly don't think that the road that we're on now is the right road. Stories like this, and stories that we tell as poets and other storytellers, we're just trying to share our passion for our lives and for their lives. I think when I write this story, it's not about me. I'm trying to share my hope that we can come together as people to say, we got to make a little change here. I'm not going to tell you what change to make. I'm saying if you don't change, this is what's happening now. And if you don't change, it's got nowhere to go but down. So let's try and think about what you can do in your own circle.
And a small move makes a difference.
And a small move
Pennies
makes a difference.
adds up to dollars.
Yes, yes, yes. So we are down to a final few minutes. I'm going to ask my guests if there's anything that they'd like to talk about in terms of a new project or something that's happening on the horizon. How about you, Joy?
That's, I was just going to toss the ball over to Vernice. One of the things I do is I volunteer visit at hospice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I've been called to do, in something's just pulling me. And I meet people and I experience conversational exchanges, and I reflect about them later on. And I am touched by the wisdom that folks who are about to leave this earth are able to express to me and basically to all of us, if we would just listen. And I think one of that pieces of wisdom is just that we must realize that we are more like each other than we are different.
Exactly.
And I think that should be the beginning of us recognizing that we are not here alone, certainly on this planet, because we are connected to the non-human world in so many different ways. And also, we have a responsibility not just, again, to ourselves or to the planet, but to the universe.
Exactly.
And as I said, this is a gift to be here. And I think every person at hospice would say that about their own lives. It was a gift to have been able to experience this life, which is to be a part of the universe. Just think of that.
Yes.
Each of us is part of the universe. What an extraordinary thing.
I agree with what Joy say, and the whole thing of recognizing a little move makes a big difference. Too often, it's almost like saving money. People say, "Well, I'll wait until I get a lot of money." No, just saving 10 cents, $10 a month. Over a couple, you have a couple of grand. So no action is too small. Just saying, okay, where I used to make one run. And just take care of one error. Just say, I'll plan out my day, and I'll get in my car. I'll make 4 hits, and everybody do that. I think that's part of the reason why gas hasn't gone up as much as it could have. It's because people are really thinking, and in their own way, like you would say, and you hope in the show, people will understand any small effort is worth it.
Yes, any small effort is worth it.
And possible.
And possible. Yes, it's not impossible. So one of the things that I would like to do is we're talking about the whales. I'm going to show, I guess I can do this. If not, I'm going to do it anyway. National Geographic in May 2021, they published this magazine with the cover story, Secret Life of Whales. And this is where I learned a lot. This is still accessible online through Disney. So I would encourage people, listen, you don't have to look at it all at once if you feel like it's too much, but you can stream The Secret Life of Whales and understand more of their importance, understand more about how they have human characteristics that we are not giving them credit, to having. And they do. They sing. They communicate, as Joy was talking about, how important that is. And we'll be sharing some of that communication in our story, The Whale Speaks. That's the whole point of hearing the whale's voice and how they're happening, and their friends, the dolphins, and what is happening, and how our humans on the Starbuck are engaging and interacting with them. So hopefully, we'll bring more people out. The contributors are great. I didn't mention the poet Jana Willoughby Lure. She's a contributing poet to this. There's a section in here that is a rap section. We can't talk about poems without talking about rap that she wrote. I'm past the phase where I could possibly write a decent rap, so I had to call. I called a young woman who is sharp. She's a wonderful writer, wonderful poet. She's an entrepreneur. She has her own business. Plug Papercraft Miracles. But she's contributing to this project as well as our musician Dan Haskins, as well as our choreographers Robin Hibbert and Dominic Giambra. So the number of people here who are participating, and we'll be talking more about them as we move up to the show, so you can hear their ideas about this and hear some excerpts from what they're doing, to say, yeah, we're talking, we know how to speak whale. In fact, I have a book. A friend of mine, Barbara Carson, some of you may know, she's the former executive director of the SPCA for many, many years. In fact, there's a cornerstone on the building of the new SPCA because she was responsible for really raising the money and making that happen. And she sent me a book entitled How to Speak Whale.
Wow.
And it's about, communication. So I'm very excited. And she also contributed to our costumes, so she's talented in a lot of different ways. So I remind people again that it's Saturday, August the 5th. It starts at 7:30. It takes place at Shea 710 Theater. 716-847-1410 is the box office, or you can go to Ticketmaster.com.
And the prices, can you give the range for the ticket prices?
Absolutely.
Because then this way people know it's not going to be the $60 or so you used to paying at 710 Main Street.
Yes.
So you can.
It's $15. That's our on one end. Then we can go to $20. The seats are divide it up in there however they do it. Then you have $30, and then we have $50, and the $50 is a VIP ticket. So if you want some reception afterwards and a toast and some other things, we try to share our appreciation to our audience in any way. But what the main thing is, we want you to come out, and that's what I hope the $15 ticket will do, is to say, well, let me just go check this out and see.
Okay. Now, what is the 15? Just in case, the $15. That's student, senior, or is
Nope,
it general?
nope, anybody.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Anybody who wants to buy a ticket at $15 and they have a $15 ticket, you can get one,
Okay.
right? And if you want a $25 ticket, you can get one. If you want a $35 ticket, you can get one. $50 ticket, you can get one. You come hang out with us, right?
So that's good to know. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes. So again, my thanks to Richard Wicker, who makes
Yes.
Think Twice Radio possible, unencumbered by the influences of commercialism, which is really cool, and allows artists to express themselves through this platform, which is really nice. So stay tuned. We'll be back. Typography of Women presents The Whale Speaks, a poetic and musical journey about the love of our planet and how we should work together to embrace and save it. Thank you very much.